you can be formal but still be in a friendly situation.
I hate asking for help, right? I don't.
It's been a while. So we're back with another episode of Beyond the Sale. I'm here with Jay.
Good morning, Jess.
Good morning. So we're going to be talking about today your transition from rentals to sales, the whole process, all your kind of tricks, ins and outs, and where you got started. So just give me a bit of background information about you and what did you do before you joined McCone?
Sure. So I arrived in Dubai on the 24th of April of this year. Prior to Dubai, I was an account manager at a big corporate catering equipment company back in the UK. I was doing that for around 2 years, but I've worked in sales ever since I was sort of 17, 18. So my whole career has been around customer service, customer facing, sales, all of that sort of stuff. So I've always been in the sales industry.
Yeah, so you've obviously had quite a bit of experience there.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So dealing with all different types of customers, my old job, I used to deal with so many different people in terms of job roles. So I had to be very, very adaptable.
Yeah.
And I mean, all my skill sets that I learned in the UK, I'm definitely applying them here in Dubai, and it's helping me out massively.
So do you think that's helped you build your knowledge more effectively, obviously coming
Definitely.
into the industry?
I think like working out people's personalities is really important, especially here in Dubai when you're dealing with some quite high profile clients.
Yeah.
There's a specific way that they work, and me as the agent have to be adaptable in any circumstance. So yeah, it's definitely helped me. I mean, without having any experience, I think I would have found the job difficult. I think anyone would find the job difficult, to be honest. But having that sort of experience is definitely helped.
So that's the main thing you would say has helped you build your knowledge, would you say? Just building relationships with people.
Building relationships, knowing how to build relationships, knowing how to overcome objections, knowing how to negotiate, knowing how to you can keep people on the right side of you. Basically, it's ultimately the key to success, in my opinion, is working people out and building relationships.
How would you say that you kind of set yourself up to build relationships with people when you meet new people, not being just kind of within a work environment, but just generally?
Yeah, I think some of my best key relationships, especially with my clients and even high profile clients, it's been kind of in an informal environment where you're able to build up kind of around, not just on a formal approach, like around in a social atmosphere, which I think does kind of allow you as a person be able to dig a bit deeper and to just build up higher connections and stronger connections in different environments, not just always the same approach, because everyone's different. So
I think for you as well, you you can be formal but still be in a friendly situation. So I think personally,
definitely,
looking outside at you and how you build relationships with your clients is you kind of have a friendship relationship with them as well as a work.
Definitely. Like it's all about sort of having that fine line. You've got to keep it professional, but when the right opportunity comes to kind of have an informal chat or do something kind of outside work, then definitely it helps massively.
Yeah, definitely. I think that is something that you can tell that you always do. I think another thing you do really well is a lot of agents really stress about the job is a very manic situation, isn't it? And it's like you can work 7 days a week, but you have a really good sort of balance where you manage to kind of maintain still working relationships.
Yeah, and I think that's a key in itself, really. I mean, when I first come to Dubai, it took me 2 or 3 months to be able to find that balance, but it is very, very important because you can get wrapped up in it, and it can obviously to take effect on your personal life. So for me, it was really, really important, health first, making sure you socialize, making sure you're doing things other than work is really, really important. Not just here in Dubai, but I mean, in general. But I do feel like a lot of people out here, because they're so set on earning money, they don't have that balance. And ultimately, they can get into
a bit of a robot mode and kind of forget that at the end of the day, you are human
and
you should enjoy life and should enjoy the other perks that come with Dubai, not necessarily kind of constant work.
And I think everyone knows what they need to do and if they're working hard or not, but some people obviously do take it to the extreme, and it does have an effect on mental health. And there's other people that don't work as hard and enjoy the social aspects, especially here in Dubai, because it's so easy to do. But finding the balance, I mean, it takes time, but once you find that balance, you're good.
How do you find that you manage that?
I think how I manage it is I always try and plan my days accordingly. So I'll book in some time for admin, I'll book in time for viewings, I'll book in time for listings or anything like that. I think having a plan really helps. And I'm in a good routine now where I get up, I go to the gym, I have breakfast, I have time in the mornings.
Yeah.
And that's a time where I don't really spend on my phone dealing with clients.
Yeah.
Whereas when I first come to Dubai, I was sort of up at 7 a.m. on my phone straight away. And my day was 15, 16 hours, you know, and it got to a point where I was just continuously exhausted.
Yeah.
And when you're exhausted, you can't work to an efficient level. So for me, it did take a little bit of time, but it's
do you feel like now you've got more of a structure? It's obviously making your day-to-day more productive.
Definitely. Structure is key. Don't get me wrong. There's always going to be times where clients call you, Jake, can I view? And it's like 8 p.m. at night. But if they're a serious client, they're ready to go. Or it's a client that I've worked with before, of course. Like there's going to be situations that come unexpectedly.
Yeah.
That's kind of unavoidable. But generally speaking, the balance is good.
So how have you found the transition? Because obviously fairly recently you've moved from the rentals team into the sales team.
Yeah.
How do you feel like you found the transition of that?
Yeah, I mean, so I was in so I started off in rentals. My first month was in May. I did a good solid 4 months in rentals. I built up my client base. I did quite a few deals. I went through sort of every objection, every hurdle. So my knowledge built up massively within those 4 months because I'd never had any real estate experience before. So for me, I was just totally brand new, which is why I just wanted to work, just so I can get to a point where I understand the job.
Yeah.
But in terms of the transition, it's obviously difficult. I obviously work in Dubai Hills, which is a very high transactional area. And whenever I had properties, they would get rented straight away.
So it was something that kind of you had to move with quickly.
It was just a blur. To be honest, the whole 4 months was a blur. I mean, I'm glad I'm glad it did go quick and I worked hard and I saw the results. But moving into sales where things are a lot slower, you've got to build better relationships.
Yeah.
And because ultimately, if you're dealing with a seller here in Dubai, they're more than likely have other units. So it's kind of, you're a little bit more under pressure, whereas rentals, it's very, very quick. So the process has been quite difficult, actually. I mean, I did my first sale this week, which is fantastic. But yeah, I mean, I was quite worried about because I was so used to working at a certain pace.
Yeah.
As soon as I went into sales or started the transition, I had to slow myself down, had to go back to basics, right? Yeah. Because ultimately we're having different conversations with sellers than we are with landlords and tenants.
Are you finding it quite a different game?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately the job's the same. It's all about relationship building. It's all about product knowledge. The basics are there. It's just the process is different, right? The process is slower and I'm just still getting to terms with everything. But I mean, here at McCone, obviously everyone's very helpful. I can speak to any of the managing partners, speak to any of the colleagues. And if I have any questions, then I obviously reach out. So I did have a 2 month transition period, which again went pretty quickly because I was still trying to tie up some of my rentals. But then I was getting some good sales listings as well. So I do think the transition is important. I think obviously a lot of real estate companies out here, once you finish rentals, you just go straight into sales.
And there's not that.
Yeah, and agents are kind of left in the dark because even though they'll have sales training, there's no transition. So they do find it a lot harder.
Yeah.
So I think I've managed it well. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to smashing sales now.
That's good. So what have you found the hardest thing about the transition?
I think it's just the process because there's so many different processes of a sale, so many different things that can go wrong. There's so many obstacles that you can face if they're a cash buyer, mortgage buyer, if they've got issues with the bank, if they're a non-resident. There's just other complications to consider. And obviously until those complications appear, I don't know how to manage it. So I'm not going to be an expert in the next month or two. And so I think every sale is always going to come with its own complication.
It's quite a learning on the job sort of role.
Definitely.
Until you experience it.
Definitely. I had a few days sales training, but like I said, I understand how to get a listing. I already had the basics in place, but it's then when you go to do a viewing, you get an offer, how you present that offer to the seller, and how to kind of get it over the line. It's just a little bit different compared to rentals. But I mean, obviously the commission is a lot more. So you just need to be on it and I feel like you'll learn from every sale as well. I've taken a lot of experience from the more experienced sales guys here. And even they say every deal that's done, it always has a complication, but then you learn something from it. So it's never smooth sailing, but then it's a learning curve as well.
I think that's a big thing that a lot of agents don't always necessarily do, but they should do. Working with the sales and the rentals team, and then within your area working well together, because there's so many deals that you can then close together. There's actually so much you could then learn from each other.
Definitely.
And I think so many people get a bit too reserved about protecting their stock and things like that. But actually, if you're kind of open to working together, it can actually be so much more beneficial.
Yeah, it's definitely the key to success. There's a lot of agents in Dubai. It's very overpopulated, but if you can sort of select a handful that you work with well, ultimately you can close more deals, right? Obviously, everyone works different in terms of agents and colleagues. So you got to take that into consideration. One way is not always the right way, but definitely in this job and even in sales, you have to be yourself. You have to give yourself that element of differentiation, because you have to stand out.
Exactly.
That's the 100%. Other thing. You have to find your niche, and you have to really kind of be sort of
authentic.
Just be authentic.
Because there is so many people, and at the end of the day, people buy into you. So you kind of showing your true self is going to definitely
and that's the same as rentals. Rentals was very fast paced, but one tenant or client may speak to 3 agents about the same property. So it's like, why should they choose you over the other agent? Okay. And it's all about communication. It's all about follow-ups. It's all about just touching base with them every now and again. Do you want to see anything else, or does this fit all your criteria? It's all about just taking that, just going the extra step, because that extra step can be the ultimate to a deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, it makes the difference from being a successful agent or an agent that's like sort of scraping by.
No, exactly. Yeah, and there is a lot of them in Dubai. There's a lot of agents that are here not for the right reasons.
Yeah.
But Dubai's a place where people come here to work, people come here to earn money. So the personality types are similar when it comes to that. But there are agents out here that don't know that, and they're here for the wrong reasons. And ultimately, their longevity here is kind of minimal.
And what do you feel like you've learned the most during your journey?
I feel like because again, Dubai is very multicultural. So for me, I've learned different cultures. I've learned different personality types. I've dealt with such a mixture of people.
Yeah, it is such a broad scale of people.
Yeah, and it's like, communication as well can be quite difficult. I feel like I've learned how to manage kind of everyone as such. Obviously, there's still people I've not dealt with, but in terms of nationalities where people do things differently, I've learned how to kind of deal with that individual and ultimately try and get a deal done by knowing exactly what they're looking for.
Perfect, that's amazing. And what would you suggest? What would be your number one top tip for anyone coming into the industry?
I feel like definitely don't lose kind of personal touch. Definitely be authentic. That is the absolute key. And be open to work with agents. A lot of people don't want to work with agents because it means splitting commission.
Yeah.
But that agent could then have a client for one of your properties.
Yeah.
And then you can close another deal. So effectively, and that can be kind of a snowball effect. And you can start working very collaboratively. So I do think, keep your personality, keep your options open, work with agents, and don't be afraid to ask for help.
Yeah, that's definitely something
I hate asking for help, right? I don't like it. I want to know everything, but I've kind of come to the reality that without asking for help, you're not going to get anywhere and you're not going to be successful.
And asking lots of questions. I always see you asking lots of questions.
Yeah, and also kind of backtrack, when you've done a deal, go back through that deal and work out what you could do better.
Yeah.
Okay. What you've learned from it. And I've actually started to write down now, like certain things that I've done, which I think I could have done better, and things that I've done well, which I'll put into practice in my next deal. Negotiation obviously is key out here.
Yeah.
You've got a property, a buyer puts an offer in. It's not as obviously what the seller's asking for. It's how to manage that. And negotiation is really, really key. And there is quite a few books that you can buy. There's online podcasts that you can listen to just kind of help stimulate your product knowledge and how to kind of learn the best way to negotiations. I think doing a little bit of research as well goes a long way.
Yeah, no, I think that's great. I think that's such helpful tips and obviously seeing how you've grown through your journey and now you're reflecting on it. I think that's
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy. I mean, I've been here literally 6 months on Saturday, so I still feel like I'm kind of new, but the way Dubai moves so quickly, I feel like I've been here.
It is such a fast pace. When you look at saying 6 months as a period of time, it's not really that long, but it just goes so quickly out here, doesn't it? And it's such a busy place that it's just, you're always on the
And I feel like you always have to, like, even just the other day, I sort of look back of my, when I first stepped off the plane here, not knowing really, I had a handful of friends here, but no one that I worked with before. Going into a job that I've never been in before, I was kind of, you get anxious. I feel like everyone gets anxious. You're leaving your home country. I'm from a background where my family's very much close knit. No one's worked abroad. No one's kind of fled the nest as such. So I'm sort of the first one to go and do that. But I mean, I've always wanted to work abroad, and I feel like if you're in the UK now or anywhere actually, and you're thinking of coming to Dubai and you've got that kind of urge to come out, all I did was bite the bullet and go.
I think you really should. Everyone should do that.
Absolutely, because we're only getting older, and I think COVID was a massive kind of factor as to why I come out to Dubai. I just wish I would have come to Dubai a little bit earlier, but then I have an excuse because of COVID. Like I couldn't come out to Dubai earlier. So it was one of them really. But I mean, I left a good job in the UK. I was paid a good salary. I was paid commission. I was very much, again, a bit of a consultant. I didn't have a kind of a direct manager. I looked after a portfolio of clients, and that was it, But after COVID, it was a lot of home-based working. And for me, I always wanted to be out and about and meet different people. So even though I liked the job, it wasn't fulfilling my needs, and I had to change it.
No, I completely agree. I felt like I was in quite a lot of those similar situations. And it's kind of, once you've moved and been to one place and you've lived in a different country, it's just like...
It opens up your eyes,
And you go back home and it's kind of... It suits some people, but it's just kind of the same little environment bubble, and you just have to kind of fly the nest.
No, definitely. I feel like it's the best thing I've ever done. I just wish I'd come here earlier, but maybe I wasn't mature enough to come here earlier. I don't know.
It's quite a big step. It's a massive thing to be able to pick up your life and move it to a completely different country. I'd never even been to Dubai before I moved.
No, I haven't either. I mean, I had my flight booked March 2020, and a week before I was due to fly out for a holiday, cancelled because of COVID. So then I postponed it to November, obviously postponed again to March, and I was like, what's going on? So I cancelled my flight. So I did want to come out here beforehand, but I mean,
everything happens for a reason.
No, definitely. And I mean, I've got people that have worked out here before in real estate, and they've told me, it's always quite tough at the start, especially if you've not been in real estate before, because real estate over here is different to the UK. The skill sets are obviously similar, but the processes, the whole check situation over here, it's weird. It's almost like a little bit backwards over here, the way the processes are.
Dubai's so
modern.
And complete opposite to that.
It's crazy. I've learned so much, to be honest, but that's what I mean. I would just wish people, because I've got a handful of friends that are messaging me now that have kind of settled down, they've got kids, and they're like, I wish I would have just done it for a year or two, And for me, the reason why I left my job, I mean, they really didn't want me to leave. They were like, look, what do we need to do? But I said, no matter how much money you offer me or any incentives to say, there's something inside me that when I turn 40, 50, 60, whatever, I'll be thinking, why not just go to Dubai and just have a little experience and, punch it.
Well, thanks so much, Jake. And I feel like I've learned so much. But I'll add obviously you've got Instagram, haven't you? So I'll add your Instagram to the show notes, and I'm sure you don't mind if anyone drops you.
Definitely, anyone reach out, any advice. I've already had people reach out to me on Instagram, so I can just obviously, forward messages, and then if they've got any other questions, I can help out for sure. But definitely come to Dubai and take that risk. Habibi, come to Dubai, definitely. Thank you, Jess.
Thank you.